In this episode, we're talking about even more upcoming indie games in part 2 of our summertime Steam Next Fest discoveries. This and more on Indie Game Arcade. Hello and welcome to Indie Game Arcade, the podcast that deep dives into the latest and greatest indie games. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we talked about a heck of a lot of games on our last episode. All amazing indie game demos from Steam Next Fest. And we've got a whole bunch more that we are ready to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump into them and get started. Game start! The very first one I want to talk about is one that I have been waiting to tell you about that I really think you would like. I messaged you about it and just kind of said, hey, you should check this one out, but I don't know if you did. And
I didn't.
No one knows how to pronounce it. It's either Ball X Pit or just Ball Pit. So it's one of those, it's got the X in it. And no matter what you do, like when you're trying to talk about Hunter x Hunter, if you say the X, you're going to get made fun of. And if you don't say the X, they're going to be like, ooh, you don't pronounce the X? Wow, what kind of fan are you? Anyway, Ball Pit is developed by Kenny Sun, published by Devolver Digital. This is an angled brick breaker roguelike and base builder. You are battling through skeleton and demonic hordes in a pit, gathering resources and expanding your homestead, Balbalon, to grow stronger. So, okay, picture like the old Atari style, like Breakout, right? So you got your bricks and you're firing balls at those bricks. You got to break out of those bricks. But mix that with like Vampire Survivors, where it's just a constant influx of enemies coming down at you in the shape of like brick kind of dudes. And then your balls, which is weird. I don't know. I got a dirty mind. So when I say your balls like that, just sounded weird. You can get different types of balls, and those balls can also be combined. So you think about like when we mentioned Vampire Survivors, you could get those weapons. Some of those weapons can evolve. Some of them create combinations with those evolutions. It's kind of the same thing here. So you can create different balls that have different effects. They can evolve, have different combos. And you were like shooting those into those enemies, trying to destroy them so they don't come down and kill you and send you back to your base without getting all the stuff that you wanted to get. In between the runs of doing that stuff, you are earning money, and you're also getting like resources and stuff, doing like some base building and like putting up crops and stuff to harvest. And the reason that you're building these bases and stuff is you're like kind of reconstructing this city like I kind of talked about. But the more you do that, the more you will unlock more starting characters and also unlock more balls, more abilities, more power-ups. So it's just kind of all feeding each other. So the runs are feeding more of the development. The development is feeding better runs. My very first run, I didn't last long. I felt terrible, but I was just like, this is so interesting though. I want to try it again. And then I kind of like understood, oh, what if I used this ball and then I got this ball? What if I did it this way? And then all of a sudden things started clicking. And then like I was having such a good time. So by the time I did run 3, because run 2, I got a little bit farther. And man, it gets so tough. But run 3, I beat the demo, took out the boss, and the boss was extremely difficult, but it was so satisfying, so cool. Started run 4 because with that third run, I unlocked enough things to build a base. I unlocked another character who had different abilities, started with a different ball, and wanted to try that character out, which I actually did play quite a bit differently. and died with that one, but it was really cool, man. The versatility is kind of astounding. There's so many different things that you can do. Gotta say, my favorite ball out of all of them, the laser ball. Pairing that with anything, great. There's also like a lot of them are like elemental kind of damage things. So there's like lightning, there's fire. The freezing ball is super, super powerful if you combo it with the right things. So there's like so much to experiment with, and it is just so much fun, man. This is one that I can see you specifically getting totally sucked into and having a great time.
You throw the roguelike tag on anything, and I'm probably going to get sucked into it, at least briefly. This doesn't look like any exception to that, because I could easily see myself sinking time into it. I see the way the progression is working just from watching the trailer of it. I'm like, okay, when you level up, you pick your 3 things. It's like it's got the basic, the core kind of roguelike
the feedback
ideas to it in a way that's really satisfying. That's what I like expect and almost need from a good roguelike game now, is that kind of progression. But it's that unique spin on it and making it a brick breaker game that is going to make it, I guess, really give it some more legs to stand out above or among like a sea of other roguelikes. We talk about roguelikes literally every episode.
Exactly.
But there are just so many variations of them. And I love it when people get creative and like do something really unique with it. So I'm excited to try this one out too. No release date, but I'm hoping that it's this year at least.
I think we're in a bit of a roguelike renaissance at the moment too, because roguelikes were very much a certain style for a way. Like I feel like roguelikes were very, very much tied to action RPGs for so long. And then we got the roguelike deck builders boom with Slay the Spire. And then everything kind of came outside the box with things like Balatro and other games that are very similar to that are like, well, what if we put roguelike spins on, just something completely, out of the box? Like, let's make roguelike poker. Let's make roguelike breakout, I love that. I love that we're seeing new spins, because it is making some of the most creative games that I think I've ever played in my life. And this one's no exception. This was so much fun to play.
Great. And what it makes me think of also is how much fun that I had when we were playing, what is the name of that game that we spent so much time on
Dice
together
Folk?
When I was visiting? Dice Folk.
Yeah.
And we were playing Dice Folk together because it just makes me think of how much I enjoy like sharing those unique like roguelike experiences with someone else, because it's like, runs the same. And it's always, that's something I can enjoy just either playing or watching like a friend play, because then it's like, oh man, you got this crazy setup going on. Like that's the kind of stuff where it's like, it's hard to tell someone a story about your weird setup without them seeing it, because it's like, it's not going to make any sense if they don't know the game and or like how the mechanics work. So that's just something I bring that up only to say that like I want that to be more of a thing that like people try to do or implement into their game, which is like either having like a multiplayer thing or just like a turn taking aspect to it. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
oh yeah,
this is something I could see like if my brother and I had access to this when we were kids, like a roguelike game, that we would have spent hours just like joking and laughing about like weird failed runs or just like awesome epic wins and things like that. So the roguelike like mechanic in general, or just like tag or whatever gameplay style it's here to stay for sure. There's at no point will it become oversaturated for me, just because it's like
it can't.
A perfect base for all of these unique spins on games.
Yeah, it's a permanent thing now. Like, I think that the more the better at this point.
For sure.
So what was next on yours?
So the next game that I had played was, I don't know how to pronounce this exactly, so I apologize ahead of time, but it's either Absolum or Absolum. And this one is one that I'm sure people have heard about. This is from the developers of, I had it. It's, Streets of Rage 4. That's what, like Streets of Rage 4, which is looks amazing, like plays amazingly. Like that's such a fun game. But this is from those developers, and it is a same style beat 'em up, like side scrolling game. But this is high fantasy, where you're playing as these different, quote unquote, wizards. Well, that's what they are. The idea, the concept of the game is there is this this evil force, the Sun King Azra, who is like trying to wipe out or at least gain control over all the magic in the realm. And so you are a group of wizards fighting back against that. And the gameplay of it is just so fun. It just feels so smooth as a side scroller goes. Where you have your attacks, you have your special attacks. The roguelike aspect of it is that you are collecting things as you go that either enhance your attacks or your parries, your dodges, whatever, in different ways. So it adds these different kind of mechanics to each of your runs. And all the characters feel really unique to play. One of them being, I can't remember all their names exactly. I know the elf, her name is Galandra, I believe, something like that. And she's the one who has just a giant sword. Her basic
she's
attacks
on the
are just
cover.
like,
yeah,
it's just like her fighting with her fist. And then her special is like swinging this big sword. And so you're trying to just like balance a lot of like those heavy, slow sword attacks into your basic attacks to get her combos going. I can't remember the name of the dwarf, but he had like a really basic, like, human name. It was like Henry
Jerry
or something. Yeah.
Okay.
but it's something like that. But I don't know, Carl, that's what it was.
Carl, oh my God, Carl.
The dwarf.
That's great.
Yeah. But his is this like more fisticuffs, but with also his like musket that he's using for some ranged. And then the other character that is playable in this demo that you have to unlock is Cinder, who is she's sort of the faster, more agile of the bunch and is relying more on sort of like almost like assassin tools, it seems like. So she's just flipping around and like using little hooks to like pull herself to other enemies to continue combos, things like that. There's also a frog wizard guy who was not in the demo, but I've seen, he's on the cover. So I know he's in the game and he's the fourth character that you'd be able to unlock and play. And so I'm excited to play him just because that looks entertaining. But yeah, like if you like Streets of Rage 4, if you like beat 'em ups and side scrolling beat 'em ups specifically, and you like roguelikes, like this is a combination of all those by a team that already made something amazing in Streets of Rage 4. So you will really enjoy this game. I enjoyed it so much. I beat it 3 times, or I beat what the demo allows you to play through 3 times because I wanted to try it with all 3 of the characters. And again, they all feel very unique. Each of them was fun to play. There are different paths you can take as you go through, where it's like, okay, I want to take like a northern path this time. So you're not just stuck with one like linear path. And all of them have like sort of different secrets you can find as well that will be something that's like, okay, well, on this run, this person that I encountered told me that there is a secret path on the initial spot that I had taken. So next run, I'm going to take that secret path instead. So it's a lot of things that are like recurring or things that are like persistent sort of progression as you move from run to run. The idea of your resurrection is through this being that they refer to as Mother. And she, in some like way where it's like she's using magic to resurrect you to come back and like continue on your quest to stop this wizard guy, the Sun King. And it all plays like really satisfyingly. It looks amazing. And I would have been sold on the art alone, but the gameplay is just also killer.
Man, yeah, the art is gorgeous. Like, this is some of my favorite illustration I've seen for a while. But I mean, I loved the artwork for Streets of Rage also. Streets of Rage 4 when they made that. So, I mean, stands to reason. Of course, I'm going to love this. And it's even more the kind of genre I'm into with like the fantasy sort of setting. So, yeah, this is definitely one I'm going to want to play.
Oh, man, that reminded me of that Marvel beat 'em up that's coming out from them also, the Cosmic Invasion.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Ooh. Same team.
So it's going to be a great year for beat 'em ups.
Beat 'em ups.
For sure.
Yeah.
Beat 'em ups.
Can't wait. I'm going to tell you about 2 different, very wholesome looking platformers real quick with very different styles. The first one is called Windswept. This is a retro style 2D buddy platformer in which you are playing 2 characters. One is a duck named Marbles and a turtle named Checkers, who got swept away in a storm and they're trying to find their way back home. This is, if I could explain the vibe here, this is Celeste meets Donkey Kong Country 2. So, Celeste, in that it is very precision based in some ways and can get very difficult, but Donkey Kong Country 2 in the idea of the buddy platformer, and that they you're really utilizing each other to do the things that you want to do. Like, they both will have their own sort of things that they can do on their own, but also, like, let's say if you need to get to like a certain ledge, you need to press a button to control checkers and then pop marbles up on your back and then do a certain like move that will shoot marbles farther up into the air so you can get on the platform you need to, and then checkers will, like, you know, shoot right up to you. Vice versa, if you were controlling marbles and you put checkers on your back, you can throw checkers as a projectile, like as a weapon, or to like reach something that's like out of the range that you'd be able to, like, reach it, or something like a collectible that if you tried to get it, you just fall to your death. So you're having to utilize and switch back and forth a lot between your two characters to like do everything. And there are a lot of collectibles throughout this thing. And it very much also like looks and feels like a 90s kind of platformer. Like the pixel art looks fantastic. You can really get in that zone, which I really, really like about the Donkey Kong Country series, where like if you get that rhythm down, it can be really fluid, where you like bounce off of somebody and you can just keep bouncing and, you know, go through the level and hit quite a few combos and stuff that way. You can definitely do that in this game. Lots of swinging around, lots of jumping, lots of climbing up stuff. The level design is fantastic and very intricate. Lots of hidden secrets, like in every level, all over the place. Lots of little mini games that are hidden around as well. It was honestly a lot more difficult of a game than I thought it was going to be. And I think the amount of stuff that you can collect was slightly overwhelming to me, but it's definitely like one where if you kind of, I think, sit back and you kind of redo the levels every once in a while, like if you're kind of a 100%er and want to do that, like it can definitely be done. But it definitely feels the closest in spirit and in like look and feel to, I would say specifically like Donkey Kong Country 2 than I think any game's ever gotten. So very, very fun, very cute.
Yeah, I wonder what the challenge level is of this, because on the surface, it does look just like a very cutesy game. But as I'm looking at the I don't know, trailers of it, like it does look like it might have at least a challenge to the degree of maybe the Donkey Kong games, like you're saying.
It is difficult for sure. I had a really hard time in some of the levels, and I think one of the tags on Steam even tags it as difficulty.
Oh, it does say difficult. Ooh, I need to add that tag to like my favorites so I can always be looking for that.
You always want the difficult games. Here's a platformer that's not nearly as difficult, but equally charming and cute, which is Big Hops. So I talked about this on a previous episode, that this was a really cute 3D action platformer that is really far in development, but they did lose their publisher and they were looking for funding to self-publish. But this is a game where you play as Hop, who is a kidnapped frog who is working to rebuild an airship to return home after he inadvertently releases a trickster demon spirit named Dis, who sends him into the void. So what is fun about this is just there is a lot of stuff that you can do as this frog. So like the actual movement mechanics of everything. So like you're jumping, you're rolling, you can wall run, dive, belly slide, swim, climb stuff. And of course you've got your frog tongue. So you can like swing, pull objects, collect objects with it, all kinds of stuff. And you can also discover and inspect different bugs, because why not? You can either save those in your backpack or you can eat them because, you know, you're a frog. Anyway, there's no like combat, at least there's none in the demo. But what this game really is about movement and environmental puzzles. And there is a lot of it. It's very feels very Mario Odyssey Breath of the Wild in terms of that almost sounded like I was saying Mario Odyssey Breath of the Wild as one game. But just in the way of the types of environmental puzzles that you're going to run into, it feels a lot like those. And the design of this game is awesome. It's super vibrant, super colorful. I thought this game was going to be a lot more contained than it was. And then when you end up in the void, it became such a crazy experience and everything just quickly expanded and the game became so much more than I thought it was going to be. And the platforming, especially in the void, quickly became one of those platformers that made you feel incredibly nervous about landing things. There was so many times my stomach dropped just in the best way. I was so nervous, trying to land some of these jumps and stuff. I don't want to spoil why, but the mechanics and the perspectives and all kinds of stuff are crazy when you're in the void, and it is super, super fun. If I had any, I don't want to say complaints, but any criticisms, I wish there was more tongue swinging because you can only use it in certain instances. If there's certain things that you can latch onto and then swing yourself, then you can use it. But I wanted to Spider-Man my way through this game with my tongue, and it's just, you're not able to do it to that extent. I understand why, based on the level design and stuff, it's limited because there's so many other mechanics for traversal and stuff with this, but it was a lot of fun, man. I had a great time. I when I first booted it up, I was like, oh, this will be pretty simple. It can't be that long for the demo. The demo was way longer than I thought, and I could not stop playing. It flew by, and I had so much fun with it.
It definitely looks cute. I don't know that I could go to this one. This one might not be up my alley, but I wish them the best. I hope they do get it developed and everything.
Yeah, I think this is a really good it would be in line with Nintendo kind of games and stuff for sure. It's got that sort of feel to it. So
yeah, I could definitely see some Mario and or Banjo-Kazooie to it, just minus the Kazooie.
Yeah, a lot of those influences for sure.
Yeah.
So Hotel Barcelona, dude, I have been looking forward to you talking about this one. I was hoping you would get to it because it looks crazy.
This one is crazy. I've only spent I spent about an hour in it and I still couldn't really tell you exactly what was going on for most of it. As a general start to it, and not that this will help it make sense to you, but you're playing as Justine, who's a novice federal marshal, and your mind is shared with Dr. Carnival, who is a deranged murderer with a violent past and maybe some sort of demon or something. Together, you're eliminating these killers in a quote unquote hotel, but it's like a transdimensional hotel because every room you go to kind of teleports you to a different zone. All of these zones, there's 7 different zones total, but you only get to play through one in the demo, or at least as far as I know. They're inspired by different styles of horror movies. So the zone you get to play in initially is a slasher type zone. Slasher Slugger is the name of the boss in it, who is this giant baseball bat wielding murderer.
Yeah,
and
I've seen the artwork of him and it looks so good.
Yeah, all of the enemies leading up to him are just hillbilly murderer type things, or that are I don't even know if they're human or what. They kind of have a zombie-esque look to them. And so this is a side-scrolling 2.5D game. I'm just trying to think where to even start with this. Yeah, on the surface, it's a roguelike also. On the surface, it's just a side-scrolling beat 'em up style sort of, where you're just running through just killing enemies as you go to get up to these different doors. The roguelike aspect, or the progression aspect, is you're going through these different doors where it tells you what bonuses they're going to give you and maybe what kind of difficulty modifier it's going to add to it. For instance, one might increase your attack speed. One might give you some restore 50% of your health, because you do lose a lot of health very quickly on this if you get hit. And so there's different kind of progressions like that. One of them gives you access to the casino, which gives you a chance to upgrade your weapon and whatnot with some of the money you're gathering along the way. And what's cool is once you die, like you do go all the way back if you don't have any like retry tickets or whatever they're called. But when you start your next run, your previous like body will be there doing the exact movements and attacks that you were doing before, like a red form of yourself. So it's like phantoms of your previous lives are there. And those phantoms will be doing exactly what you did on your previous run, but it is still working on the enemies that happen to be walking there or, you know, along whatever path they're attacking through. So you can use them to your advantage, your previous phantoms to your advantage to like help fight enemies or act as a shield for yourself or whatever. Or if you know like what you were about to do from a previous run, you're like, okay, let me position this enemy here because I remember here I did this thing or I used my special or whatever. So it's like a really interesting sort of take on that I didn't even understand that was actually happening until I saw some enemies get killed by these phantoms. I'm like, what is even... Because I thought it was just like showing me like what I had done before, and it was just kind of like a background thing. I didn't
kind of like Elden Ring or something.
Yeah. I didn't know that it was a phantom that was actually doing something and able to interact with the world too. I don't know like what the maximum amount you can have up is. I think it had up to 3 at once at one point. But like the further you get into the game, the longer your phantom will last in the background. Obviously, there's so much happening, and it is wild, and it is fast paced, and it's going to be really difficult to grasp at first. At least it was for me. I think I'm finally comfortable enough with it to where I could probably have a good run now. But every time I got to the boss, like he would just kick my ass because I was like, what can I dodge? Can I? Because you can dodge and parry, but it's like so sensitive, and like your reaction time has to be like pretty quick to get it right. Like at the end, like I had almost beaten the boss on my last run, and then he did this thing where he went down like an umpire and like pulled his glove out, and I was like, what is about to happen? And then a ball just shot from nowhere from behind me and just like took off like half my health and killed me. Just out of nowhere. So it's like all this baseball themed stuff going on in his fight. But again, it's one of those where it's like the more I do it, the more it's like, okay, I know now that he's going to kneel down like that. I need to get the hell out of the way because that ball is about to come at me, which makes sense, I guess, in whatever kind of way that makes sense. But the horror theme is what sold me on it initially. And just all the wild mechanics that they're experimenting with are so interesting, and seeing them actually work and like pan out as I was playing through it just makes me really intrigued by this, more so than I was before. This one was last on my list to play because I wasn't like super intrigued by it. I didn't exactly know what it was aside from the horror aspect, so I wasn't even going to necessarily play it for this episode, but I had some time, so I just happened to, and now I'm really glad I did because it might be one of the favorites that I have played for this so far.
I think I had seen a trailer for it. I don't remember how long ago. If maybe it was around the last Steam Next Fest. I'm not sure, but I just remember seeing it and being like, "That looks cool," and I bet Joseph's going to want to play that. And lo and behold, here we are.
Here we are. This is also awesome. From the creators of Deadly Premonition and No More Heroes, so it's got some really like high quality, like high class creators behind it, and that makes sense because mechanically this is so interesting and unique. And once I learn to speak the language of this game, I think it'll really feel good to play it. Yeah,
it'll probably be one that you just have to experiment with for a while, and maybe one that you really got to learn the bosses a little bit before you can really go at them. So yeah, looks awesome.
Yeah, definitely recommend playing this one. Try out the demo while you can.
The next one I want to talk about is Dead Finger Dice, which is developed by Rocket Adrift Games. This is a roguelike dice builder. I've played quite a few dice builders for whatever reason this time. This is a dark and gory poker dice builder where you are trapped on a billionaire-filled mega yacht, forced to play against these demon lord billionaires just to survive. So I know that sounds weird as hell, but this game is weird as hell and really creepy. You're literally playing for fingers. So like to start, you have to cut off one of your own fingers with this like tiny little guillotine thing that is meant for like cigars and stuff. And man, they make it like the art of it and stuff. This is all like 1-bit art. So like World of Horror, think of that, or Return of the Obra Dinn was all like 1-bit, but this is a 2D thing. But like just the noise it makes and the visual of it, cutting the finger off, I was so uncomfortable every time. Like it never got any better for me. But oh God. Anyway, so you have to start with a bet and betting your finger. And then it plays out like a poker game where almost if we go back to last episode and I was talking about the rules for how to score and stuff like that from Pirate's Gambit, it's a lot of the same type of rules here, except there's not like no Balatro craziness stuff here. So there's no multiplayers, no things like that. This is straight up just the kind of yacht dice style, like poker dice, and you're playing against somebody. So you are having to beat them, and you are hoping that you were getting a better hand of, cup of dice than they are. But just like in poker, you can bluff. And I found that out like my first run, I did terrible. I don't think I scored at all. I died really quick. The second run, I ended up beating the demo, and that was going through 2 different bosses. And I learned a few nuances that were really, really cool to kind of just discover, which was like figuring things out of like if they, they might choose to up the ante and stuff and put in more fingers, which means like, when you're first starting out, that means you got to cut off more of your fingers, which really sucks. If they're not upping the ante, then in my head, I was just like, maybe it's like real poker. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they don't have a good hand. So then maybe I've got a better hand. Like, let's say I've got like 4 of a kind. Maybe I've got a shot at this. So then maybe I cut off more of my fingers and I up the ante. And then maybe they fold because they know they're going to lose. And then it's like, okay, so this really does go like poker. Like the CPU will treat it like a real game of poker, like a person. It can be bluffed. So it's really interesting when you factor that into it. So I actually ended up winning one of them with a bluff, which was crazy to me. In between that stuff, you go back to your cell on the yacht. And in there's like different things that you can do. So if you win against a boss, then you get a choice of your reward. And it's like these 3 packages where you choose beef, chicken, or pork. But that's not actually like what you get. That's just what they're called. And it's different packages of you get like, I think the one I chose gave me a finger from the guy I defeated, like his finger. And then it gave me it was like a hunk of bone, and then it gave me 10 like random fingers, which that means those are fingers that I now have in my possession that I can bet without cutting off my own fingers. And the finger I got from him could be used with another material like the bone, or later on I got just a hunk of flesh. You can craft your own dice that do have special properties and stuff at this like altar and stuff that's down there with you. So you can create things. There's also like charms and stuff that you can get that do kind of go into that roguelike thing of making your run better and stuff. And what's also interesting too is you have something under the bed there, and the bed is where you save your game, but you have something called a hidden stash. If you lose, you get tossed overboard, and then it's basically like a new character comes in and inherits that cell, like that room, and you're starting from scratch, right? But if you throw some things into that hidden stash, it'll still be there for the next person, which is kind of cool. So you can kind of save a few of your, like, maybe it's your crafting materials, or maybe you crafted a very special die and you're about to go into the next thing and you're not confident you're going to win it. And you're like, I'm going to stash that. Then you have it for the next run, which is really cool. But yeah, I really, really loved it. It was super uncomfortable chopping your fingers off. It never felt good to me. It was fun in a cringy horror kind of way. And I love the game design of this, and especially too, like the crunchy voiceover for every character, like all the bosses really reminds me of those like 80s and 90s games. Especially like if you remember specifically, Joseph, like the voice line of the butcher in the original Diablo game where he does the like, fresh meat. Like how compressed and crunchy that voice was. Like it sounds a lot like that when people talk. Real bassy, really crunched down and compressed.
Yeah.
And it sounds good. Like it just gives you that nostalgic feeling when you hear it.
Such a weird looking game too, but
Yeah, dude.
in a fun way. This
crazy.
is one I'm almost certain I'll play. I don't know if I'll have time to play the demo, but it is on my wish list already, so I'll be picking it up when it comes out for sure. Just because of how weird it is.
This is a day one for me, for sure. I loved it so much.
And I just love that the bosses are like monsters. Like one of them looks like Nosferatu, and then there's like a Medusa in there. There's all kinds of craziness.
And those are the two bosses you play against in the demo.
Oh, nice.
So that was fun. Yeah.
Power up!
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, do us a favor, throw us a like, a follow, a share. And share this episode, especially the podcast as well, with folks who love indie games so we can get more of these game recommendations out there and support indie game developers. We also have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/nerdsloth where you can catch us playing more indie games or check out our top 5 series for even more indie game recommendations because we believe there's an indie game out there for everyone.
Combo!
I have one more game to talk about, which was one that was sent to us from the developer. And this one is called Train Jumble from Emergo Entertainment. And this was a studio out in Germany. And this is probably not a Joseph game, but maybe it could be because it is a roguelite. So this is a cozy strategy / roguelite train management game. So do you remember last episode I was talking about that one called Is This Seat Taken? Where you're like, putting the little shape guys in the bus and stuff. They have different, preferences and stuff. Weirdly enough, this is very, very similar. So in this one, you are managing a train car, and you're getting all these quirky passengers that are like anthropomorphic animals and stuff. And it's very much the same kind of deal. They all have different preferences and they all have different like conditions and stuff like that. Like maybe they're loud or maybe they're kind of smelly. Like literally all the hippies are almost always smelly. So it's like, oh, this person doesn't like smells. I can't sit that person within like a certain radius of the hippie person. So you're having to do that kind of stuff. However, on this one, they also might want specific accommodations. So you have to keep them happy. So they give you tips so that you can earn money and then put things within the train too that can accommodate different things. Like maybe they want refreshments. You need to be able to buy, a water dispenser or something to put in there. Or maybe they want to feel some community. So you need to find you need to be able to buy a crafting table and put that in your train car somewhere. And also it has to be positioned somewhere by where those people that want a sense of community are sitting. So it's like the amount of things that you have to consider and strategize with escalates very, very fast. And it gets so complicated that it almost kind of made my head spin. But like, it was so satisfying though, in a way I did not think it was going to be. At first I was a little worried that it was going to be too much like that other game, but the roguelite aspect of this too, in that you're doing runs, those runs too are unlocking things that will help you in your next run. There's several difficulty levels. There are challenges within those difficulty levels. It just added so much more to it and made it like a very, very challenging and difficult game if you want that level of challenge and stuff to it. So it's kind of like whereas that other game was like one that does get complex, but it's one I can really chill, relax, play, have a good time. This one I can do either. I can chill, have a good time with it, or I can get really deep into it and like really, really rack my brain around how do I do this and try to make it work and try to make all my little guys happy.
Yeah, I mean, it does look cute, and I like that it's a roguelike. I don't know if it's for me, but I think that has less to do with the actual coziness of it and more of the management aspect, because that type of game just doesn't generally appeal to me either. So it's kind of a combination of things. It's like the roguelike would be the only thing that would kind of like save it, but I don't know if the rest is, if that's enough to like draw me into it just conceptually. Although it does look really cute. So, you know.
And there is a YouTube video of Seymour Sloth, who weirdly sounds a lot like me. That's weird. I don't know why. Seymour playing this game. So if you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/nerdsloth, you can watch Seymour play Train Jumble. So go do that.
Final round.
Let's talk about any indie games we are excited about. I have two more that I want to talk about. One is Star Overdrive, which comes out on June 19th from Carkle Games. This is a high-speed ARPG where you are pulling off tricks on your hoverboard and battling enemies across an alien planet, and your keytar is your weapon. I love that. It just looks like mayhem in the absolute best possible way. And then the other one is The Diary. This is a game right up my alley and completely down the opposite side of the road from Joseph. This comes out on June 20th from Hu Chang Studio. This is an investigative mystery about a missing person that unfolds by solving puzzles and clues between a set of multiple diaries. So you're going through the diaries, you're piecing together things between them all to figure out this case. Artwork looks great. This is one that has been on my list for, oh my God, it's been, I think, since the beginning of the year, if not even farther back than that when I first heard about it. So I'm very, very looking forward to it finally coming out.
One I wanted to bring up is Shuffle Tactics, which is a roguelike deck building tactical RPG. All things that I love. So this I don't know a ton about, but just even visually is something that would have appealed to me. But given or adding the roguelike and deck building aspect to a tactics game is just really stands out for my preferences. And I think it's going to be out in it looks like June 24th. So in a couple weeks, but
oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm going to be following this one. I don't know a ton about it again, but looks great. And I'm sure it'll play. I'm sure it'll be like a good combination of all those things from what it sounds like. They are inspired by Final Fantasy Tactics and Slay the Spire, which are both amazing games and kind of like at least top tier tactics games, well, tactics and deck building games for me. So yeah. Gonna have my eyes on this one for sure.
That actually did just remind me of another game that I've been looking forward to, and I don't know why I didn't put this in my notes, but Outrider Mako, which comes out on the 23rd of this month. So this is like a 2D top-down action game. I'd say it looks kind of like a old school like Legend of Zelda kind of game, like Link to the Past sort of style maybe. Take that and put the main character Mako in sort of like a Studio Ghibli like Spirited Away sort of world. That's kind of what it reminds me of. It looks fantastic. I'm really excited to see what the gameplay is going to be like, but this is one that's been on my radar for a while that apparently I totally forgot about and blanked on when I was making my notes. But it's one that I most likely will be bringing to the show once it releases, hopefully. So we'll see. I also meant to mention that I did play a little bit of Mina and the Hollower, but I didn't get far enough in it to really give my full opinion on it, other than I love how it looks. And it's pretty fun. It's got some really cool mechanics to it, and it's slightly difficult in some areas, but in a good way. So it's kind of like Castlevania as a mouse, and that's just fun. Why wouldn't it be fun?
Oh, Yacht Club games, yeah.
With everything that we played during Steam Next Fest, what would you say was your favorite demo?
Oh, geez.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, it's gonna be between Absolum and. Oh, I'm torn between Ninja Gaiden and Hotel Barcelona. I'm going to say Hotel Barcelona. I got to put that up there as...
Okay.
No, Absolum. Absolum was my favorite. I definitely spent the most time. It's hard because like I want to I wish I had spent more time with Hotel Barcelona to really like push it that far for me. But Absolum is just like such a solid game, even so far, that I know I'm going to like buy and enjoy that one. So I would say out of everything, it was Absolum, but I don't want to detract from any of the other ones that I played because they were all great in different ways.
So it's hard because I play such a diverse amount. So it's like I have favorite cozies and I have favorite, harder roguelike ones. So I'm like torn between is this seat taken and then Ball Pit, because both were so much fun, but for completely different ways. But if I go with like, where did I spend the majority of my time though? And I kept going back, even though I 100%ed is this seat taken because I was so enraptured with it. Like I had to keep going back to Ball Pit. So I would have to say that was probably my favorite of Next Fest. So very much looking forward to that full release for sure.
Nice.
Game over.
Well, if you had a good time listening to this episode, stick around for the bumper to learn how you can support the show and all the things we do here at Sloth Creative. You can also check the show notes for our link tree, which will take you to our social media, Discord, subreddit, merch store, and everything else. Get in touch with us and let us know, what did you play from Steam Next Fest? And help us elevate these games so we can help support the indie devs that make them. That's game over for us. My name's Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we'll continue on the next episode.
Continue.
Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth for indie game let's plays and recommendations. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/nerdsloth, where you can select a pledge and receive access to hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything at Sloth Creative. If you're an indie game developer and would like us to review your game or explore other opportunities, send an email to nerdslothcreative@gmail.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade. Thanks for listening, and keep supporting indie game devs.